is a shakedown.
Ladies and gentlemen, football fans of North Central Ohio, you are now entering the Friday Night Pigskin. So get strapped in, lay some tide and get right for big hits, top plays, and highlights. All coming your way from under the Friday Night Lights. The most exciting sounds and sights, gridiron action to serve your viewing delights. Let's go. Friday Night Lights. Get hype, it's Friday night. Friday Night Lights. Get hype, here we go now. Friday Night Lights. Get hype, it's Friday Night Lights. Get hype, here we go now. He's at the 10, the 5, touchdown! Throws it over the middle and he gets absolutely sauced. Friday Night Lights. Get hype, it's Friday Night Lights. Get hype, here we go now.
That kind of aggressive play calling there too on second down makes me think that this is 4-down territory for them. Oh boy.
Bad snap. Goes all the way back to the 30. And a dive, poking it away. It's going to be picked up. The smallest man on the field runs to the end zone. Touchdown, Tyler Haar.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Get hyped. It is Friday night, and how about some love for the little guy there on the call of the night? I'm Brian Skronsky here with you on a very exciting Week 3. Most teams putting a bow on their non-conference schedule. We had some crazy weather, some wacky rain, and some lightning. But at the end of it all, we've got just one undefeated remaining in the K-MAC, one undefeated remaining in the Northern 10. We have highlights from both of those winners coming at you here tonight. How about three that are 3-0 right now in the MOAC? We're going to tell you who. You see all the scores going down over on this little bracket over here too, so you can keep up with that. Mansfield Senior dips to 0-3. Their worst loss at Arlen Field since 1917. Wasn't so great for them. And then also Clear Fork and Lexington in danger of also dipping to 0-3 tonight. They played each other over at the Colt Corral. Yours truly was there. It was a really good game at first. We'll show you how it all shook down between these two past conference rivals, Richland County foes. Come out of the gates here after a long Lexington drive stalled. It gets tipped around and it's picked off. Marcus Hoflick's first pass taken away by Alex Hubbard. After the Colts defense does their thing again, he throws it right back to Hubbard. He grabs his second INT of the first quarter. Lex would tack on a field goal to go up 3-0. Second quarter now, Hoflich completes an easy one. Wise choice, because Jay Jackson, he's a burner, folks. 63 yards, he hits the speed burst all the way to pay dirt. Colts take their first lead of the season, 7-3. Then later in the second, Bryce Walker's wrecking the whole thing there on the punt attempt, and he walks in for 6. 14-3, Clear Fork would lead at the break. Third quarter, and the end zones call in Clear Fork, and they want to talk to Sansom. Mason Sansom, 43-yard burst into pay dirt. It's 21-3 Colts. Nobody saw this one coming, and they would throw some icing on the cake. Closing minutes, and Nick Appleman throws a cherry on top. You about to see it turn to 28-3, your final score. The Colts romping in their home opener tonight. They got the student section rocking. Clear Fork gets off the schneid. They knock off Lexington. Appleman goes for a $116 and a touchdown on the ground. Sansom added 59 yards and a touchdown. They were my co-MVPs tonight. Two kids, really awesome to talk to, especially the captain, Mason Sansom. I'm going to post that as its own clip coming up after the show here tonight. You're definitely going to want to hear from him. And I think a little bit of soul searching for Lexington. Didn't play with a lot of pride. I didn't see a ton of energy from them. 0-3, and a crazy stat for you, in the second and third quarters all season, they've got 0 points. After that 3 spot that they put on the board in the first quarter, nothing after that offensively. Lexington just didn't look like they had a spark going tonight. And their birthday boy, unfortunately, Seven Allen, had a big first quarter opening drive. I think he's got some high ankle sprain issues right now. He would have to leave the game, did not return. Without him, Braden Fogle, just 1 catch. So I think tough sledding for Lexington tonight. And for Clear Fork, a lot of smiles. And the 2 seniors that I talked to after the game said, you know, we really wanted to bring some energy. Things didn't really go our way out of the gates, playing 2 teams that I think by the end of the season are going to be competing for some regional championships. No slouch going down to Granville and then losing at Perkins. But Clear Fork, they've got a tough one coming up, and undefeated in Galion coming over to their place next week. And two guys that saw the TI Tigers tonight on the road over at Upper Sandusky, Shane Young and Josh Banks in the house. Fellas, tell us all about the Tigers and how they got their way to 3-0.
Yes, sir, Brian. So the Tigers, they were able to go 3-0 in a dominant victory over the Upper Sandusky Rams. Their 3rd and 10 team of the year of their non-conference games, able to go 3-0.
Able to go 3-0 and beat 3 teams that are normally rather competitive in the N10. And let's go ahead and take a look at the highlights, see how they went ahead and did it tonight.
So first off, we got a Braxton Prosser touchdown to Jacob Chambers. Nice little corner around the end zone to make it 7-0 in the first quarter.
And you're going to see a whole lot of scoring in the second. It's going to start off with Braxton Stuckman taking it in from 5 yards out of the middle. It's going to make it 14-0.
All right, with this 3rd touchdown here, Braxton Prosser, he's got to run out of the pocket, and he throws it deep to Aiden Schmidt, who actually stole this ball from a freshman, then runs it in for the touchdown, makes this game 21-0.
Now you're going to see a quick little corner route. Braxton Prosser, Trey Longwell, senior to senior, 28-0.
Now you're going to see another Braxton Prosser to Jacob Chambers hook up here. He's going to toss it out. And look at this. Just gone. Burns the defenders. We got a 35-0 ball game.
And now you're going to see an interception here by the guy in defense. A lot of pressure. Intercepted by, guess who? The man that scored a touchdown, Braxton Stuckman. And we're going to end it. Little JV action going on here. Freshman Kane Hay is going to punch it into the end zone, and that's going to cap off the 42-0 victory for the TI Tigers, traveling over to Upper Sandusky.
Now, one thing I do want to point out, Josh, before the game, about 2.5 hours before the game, actually told me that he called this game to be 42-0. And Josh, I mean, of all these playmakers on this team, I mean, also considering Martinez was out for tonight, I mean, who's your phenom?
There was a lot of options. Jacob Chambers is a track and field demon in the 100, but Braxton Prosser tonight goes 17 of 23, 228 yards, 4 touchdowns, and you'll see it Monday as a top play, the pass to his fellow quarterback, Aiden Schmidt. I talked to him post-game. You guys are going to want to watch that interview. He said he felt like Patrick Mahomes on that throw, the way he rolled out, threw it off the back leg, and threw an absolute dot.
Which was absolutely stunning. I mean, that was a beautiful pass. I mean, I thought it was just crazy how he stole it out of the freshman's hand, the freshman thinking he's going to get his first touchdown. Aiden Schmidt stealing it right from him.
But I tell you what, I said it 3 weeks ago in this studio. The TI Tigers are my favorite to win the MOAC. They're 3-0 now, and they've done it pretty well. But we're going to throw it back to Brian to talk about that one and only undefeated N10 team. How'd the Eagles do tonight?
Yeah, thanks, guys. So the TI Tigers have been running through the N10. They'd be in first place right now if they were actually in that conference, but maybe the one team that they wouldn't want to show up on the schedule, the 3-0 Colonel Crawford Eagles, and my guy ZT, Zach Truax. He was down at one of my favorite small school stadiums in the entire world, Chet Looney Stadium in Howard, Ohio. Let's bring in Zach to talk about these 3-0 Eagles, baby, because this is a team, they keep losing a lot of talent, but Jake Bruner, he's not rebuilding, baby. He is reloaded again.
Yeah, the Colonel Crawford Eagles actually came in tonight and handled the East Knox team that was really battle-tested. They played a tough Winford team and beat them. They played a tough Northridge team, 8-7. I was really expecting a very competitive game because East Knox, they played a tough brand of football down there. But, man, Colonel Crawford came in and put a whooping on them tonight.
Yeah, this is a physical team, and they got a lot of weapons. Let's have the moving pictures kind of tell the story for us right here, Zach, because right out of the gates, this is a guy that has been coming on big time. Lucas Foy, he's a playmaker all over the field. How about this? 87 yards to get the party started.
Yeah, he was all over the field tonight. Offense, defense, special teams. Foy showed up on a lot of different plays, and that's the third play of the offensive series for Colonel Crawford.
But how about Connor McMichael? He was more like a supersized McMonster with extra sauce. He's done it every single week so far. How do you not walk away being impressed with this dude?
First of all, don't steal my nickname. You have to credit me with the McMonster nickname. I texted that to you. You know I did.
I love it. I stole it.
Second thing is, yeah, he was a McMonster tonight, man. Him and Dominic Dean were just carrying tacklers around the end zone.
Yeah, the rest of this highlight, I'm told, is just going to be all Connor McMichael as the Eagles fly, baby, fly 33-0. They would end up routing East Knox. And no Jax Lester for EK tonight, the junior quarterback. And the offense really runs through him. So did you feel like they just weren't necessarily in sync tonight and certainly not ready to take on a team of the caliber of Colonel Crawford?
Well, if you're East Knox, you're never going to admit that because they have such a strong tradition, strong program. Blake Elliott was such a good runner tonight, and I think that team always builds their identity around a strong offensive line. But yeah, not having Lester in the lineup's huge. He provides just enough balance to open up the holes for Lester or for Elliott when he runs. So I think not having the varsity quarterback, the starting quarterback in there, it allowed allowed Colonel Crawford to really walk up to the line of scrimmage and smother the run and force East Knox to be one-dimensional.
Yeah, you can just call them the Eagles. I mean, they're black, they're gold. It just all works out there, Zach.
Let me just own this. Let me just own this for a second to the good folks of Colonel Crawford. I must have made that slip up. I made that slip up, I bet, a dozen times, and I felt absolutely horrible going home. I wrote it down early when I was taking my notes. I wrote, the other school, which I will not say again. And I said, well, that's going to stick in my head. And it really did. So the Colonel Crawford Eagles are really putting on a show tonight. Really impressed with their coach's play calling, too.
Yeah, it seems like pretty obvious. I mean, you got a McMonster out there, you got a Lucas Foy, but at the same time, you still got to put them in the proper positions to make the big-time plays, and you felt like they did a really nice job of that tonight. Yeah,
they did. Like you said, you've got Foy, you've got the McMonster, and you've got the Dean kid that runs really hard too. But if you watched him call plays, if you watch your head coach call plays, every play was setting up the next play. A sequence that comes to mind right away is they rolled their quarterback out to the right about 3 times, and they let him throw on the run. And then they rolled him out to the right, stopped, and did a little throwback to McMichael on the other side. And East Knox was just completely going with the quarterback. And that's how great coaches just use one play call to set up the next play call, and I'm always it's not the X's and O's, it's the Jimmys and Joes kind of guy. You'll never see, especially in small school football, the smaller, slower team win. It's always a team with the guys like McMichael and the guys like Dean and the guys like Foy. But when you complement that with play calling, it really makes you a tough team to play, and they're going to be a tough out for a lot of teams this year. They get to the N10. I heard you guys talking a little bit earlier. They got to be a strong candidate to win the N10, and then they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs.
Yeah, the only 3-0 team remaining in the Northern 10 Conference. And, Kerry, they've been the beasts out there. They've won it 3 times in a row. They're in danger potentially of going to 0-3 with a loss tomorrow. So very interesting storyline there. And for Coach Bruner, he's been right there. His only loss has been to Kerry so far in the Northern 10 Conference over the last couple of years since he has been in there. So you got to go back to 2020 and Coach Tegg, the one and only time that the Eagles have won it. So I certainly feel like they are going to be the favorite going in there, Zach, to win it. They got Mohawk coming up in their Week 4 matchup.
When was the last time Kerry was 0-3? Does anyone remember? We talked about. I heard you mention. Seriously, heard you mention the TY Tigers hadn't been beat like that since 1917. My late father played football at Mansfield Senior, and he's probably rolling over in his grave right now hearing that stat. But when was the last time Kerry was 0-3? It's got to be, go back to 1917 or some ridiculous number like that. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting in the Northern 10.
All right, Zach, appreciate you staying up late with us. And remember, just call them the Eagles, bro, and you'll get it right every time.
Yeah, I really do feel bad about that. Much apologies to the Colonel Crawford faithful. I hope you will forgive me. I hope maybe I can call the Colonel Crawford playoff game this year and get it right. I do want to give you an update on another team, if I could, just for a second. Last week, we watched Kirtland put one on Crestview, and we mentioned they're going up. Kirtland was the defending Division 6 state champs, going to play Perry, who are the defending Division 5 state champs. They went to 4. Kirtland wins that game 22-21, triple overtime, and they overcame 4 turnovers to do it, which, I don't know too many teams that turn the ball over 4 times to a defending state champ and still can pull out the win. Really is a testament to how good Kirtland is.
Yeah, let you know what Coach Tiger's got going on out there. I mean, unbelievable run in the stretch. 1 regular season loss for them, like in the last 7 years. Like, come on, it doesn't even seem real at this point. I mean, them and Marion Local, they're football factories, they're machines. Like, check them for AI, all that type of stuff. It's
250 wins. 250 wins. The man can go 0-10 for the next 25 years and end his career as a 500 coach.
Still.
Amazing. Yeah.
All right, ZT, man. Hey, get some sleep, brother. Have a good night. We'll be seeing you next Friday night right here.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you.
Appreciate you. And we appreciate you out there, the people of North Central Ohio, and of course beyond the entire galaxy, for dropping in all of the votes for the top play in the Phenom from week number 2. After a quick commercial timeout, we'll be back. We will announce your winners right here, live and free.
You have better things to do than to job hunt or scramble to find your next great hire. So let Spherion do it. We say local is our superpower because we live and work where you live and work. We know the Mid-Ohio job market, and we're locally owned. So you won't find a partner who's more engaged and literally invested in your success. If you're ready for something better, start with Spherion. Visit us online at midohiojobs.net or call 419-747-7479.
More than Crown, we are the real people behind Crown CDJR of Dublin. Every member of our sales team is dedicated to providing you an excellent customer experience.
Find the right vehicle for you and your lifestyle. Is a Crown, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram today. The better way to buy.
Instead of paying for some big-name spokesperson, Kasasa Checking gives that money back to you in cash rewards. In fact, just bought me this cup of coffee. See how that works? Amazing! Free checking, cash rewards. Take back banking with Kasasa.
Welcome to Richland County's first artificial intelligence ATM. And if you car dance to the song you're listening to now, I will give you $50. See, that's something an ATM can never do.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Oh, we're serious.
Gosh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. We hope your day is a little bit better today.
Yes, thank you.
I'ma keep it going till there ain't none left. Going till there ain't none. Keep the flame on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't none left. Going till there ain't none. Keep the flame on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't none left. Going till there ain't none. Keep the flame on. Gotta keep the flame on. Gotta keep the flame. Keep the flame. Keep the flame on. Gotta keep the flame on. Flame on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't nothing left. Going till there ain't nothing. keep the flame on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't nothing left. Going till there ain't nothing. Keep the flame on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't nothing left. Going till there ain't nothing. Keep the flame on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't nothing left. Going till there ain't nothing. Keep the flame on. Gotta 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 keep the flame on. Keep the flame on.
Had a ton of games, lots of action from week 2, which gave us some big time performances and of course some unbelievable plays. So we put it into your hands to decide what is the absolute best of the best. After we tallied up all the votes, here comes your top play of the week from week number 2. And this one was a biggie, folks. It ended up being a quasi-game winner. The toss to the corner and the diving catch by Alan Carver. The dot from Braxton Prosser. Galion ends up winning at carry thanks to that big-time play. And the best individual performance of the week? Let's go ahead and roll it. Here comes your phenom. His teammate in week 1 was the best of the best. In week number 2, how about Hayden McFadden showing out for the Hillsdale Falcons in a win on the road against Lucas. Not many teams going to Bob Wine Field and look like the Hillsdale Falcons did, but thanks to this junior wideout, they would soar with a big-time victory. 2 touchdowns in 2 different ways. Hayden McFadden is your week 2 phenom. And speaking of the Hillsdale Falcons, they were looking to go to 3-0 tonight and become the only team in the WCAL that could say that. And we had someone over there checking it out. So let's toss it over now. We've got Travis Berardi hanging out with Mad Dog Zazzuto. What's up, you guys?
What's up, Brian? Rivalry night at Loudonville, Hillsdale, Loudonville, where a couple years ago at Loudonville, the Redbirds, a big upset of Hillsdale. Falcons rolling once again, like Brian said. Not many people go into Bob Wine and get the victory, but can they do it back-to-back weeks at their rival Loudonville, Madeline?
Well, spoiler alert, they did. they can say that they are 3-0. So
let's hit those highlights.
Yeah, let's see how it was happening. It's the Battle of the Birds with the Redbirds and hosting the Falcons. And it was a slow start, but at the end of the first quarter, we're going to have Owen Sloan make it to the end zone with a 2-yard rushing touchdown to make the score 7-0 going into the second quarter. And again, Sloan would rush another long touchdown of about 50 yards. He had the Redbirds diving left and right at him, and he could not be stopped.
Like a butterfinger.
Yep.
Slipping through those hands.
And the score is now 14-0 Hillsdale. And Hillsdale's Holland Young then came out of nowhere to rush another long touchdown, adding to the score to make it 21-0. And we're actually going to have Young again on this next play. He makes it into the end zone, catching a 20-yard pass from QB Cale Lewis.
That kid is good.
With only 8 seconds left in the half. It's 28-0 Hillsdale. And second half scoring started off with Sloan again getting his hat trick touchdown of the night, rushing 23 yards to make the score 35-0. And Brock Bauer now got some action rushing around 20 yards into the end zone, finishing the third quarter 42-0 Hillsdale. And unfortunately, our cameras did not catch it, but Loudonville did score a touchdown. Their own. Josiah Hirschberger did get the Redbirds on the board, but it was too little too late in that fourth quarter. And the final score was 42-7.
You sure that wasn't Jack Fickus and Braylon Jarvis out there going 1-2? Because these these guys look good. The sophomore, Cale Lewis, extremely impressive. Like we said, he was our phenom from a week ago. But there's somebody else that caught your eye tonight.
Yeah, Owen Sloan actually ran the show tonight. He had 3 rushing touchdowns, which was the most of the night anyone had on either sides. And he also had lots of carries and yards, but we don't have the exact stats yet.
We will have them
but
for
we
you
will have
for
them.
the for the Fee nominee on Monday when we give out our nominees, we will have the actual stats.
Yeah, but
3 touchdowns is the stat that matters most,
he
right?
was on fire tonight.
It looks like a little Braylon Jarvis out there, too, with
I know.
with the little wiggle in the motion into the end zone. But the Falcons, 3-0, Madeline. Are they, as advertised, are they as good as you've seen in the last couple weeks?
Yeah, I mean, this was my first time seeing them this year, and they definitely lived up to the hype, for sure.
All right. Well, from one 2-0 to 3-0 team to another that's looking to go 3-0, I was at the Castle, Ken, Parrott, and I for the first time this season as the Golden Knights, very impressive, over 40 points offensively. They had 2 running clock games where the first teamers did not even play in the second half. Would that happen tonight? Spoiler alert, no, it would not. Let's get to the highlights from the Castle. Golden Knights looking for revenge after the Mounties shocked them by a score last year, one of their only 3 losses. And boy, did the Golden Knights get it. Already 7-0, and Cohen Becker breaks through a hole you could drive a truck through. 15 yards, it's 14-0. Good guys, 6 minutes in. Second quarter now, 21-0. A.J. Bauer back to pass and tosses a screen to Can Goldbach. It's read perfectly, but he makes not 1, but 2 defenders whiff, and he has gone 20 yards. It's 27-0. Moments later, and Mapleton trying to run their own version of a screen pass, a throwback, but who else? Cam Goldbach once again on the defensive side. Right place, right time, one-handed pick. He is gone. 38-yard pick 6. 34-0, but they're not done in the first half. Time running down now. Bauer's just going to run a little bubble screen to Becker, and he makes 1 defender miss. 2 defenders miss. 3 defenders miss. And then he's going to make 1 more defender miss. Into the end zone he goes. 41-0 Golden Knights at the break. And yes, another running clock game. Start of the second half, though, Becker is going to end his big night with a bang. Watch him cross the field untouched. And you know what happens here, Madeline. We don't show a kickoff return unless they take it to the house. 79-yard kick 6. He finishes with 4 total touchdowns, 2 rushing, 1 receiving, and that kick return touchdown. Golden Knights, another 40-plus point offensive output. Another running clock. They are 3-0 and looking darn impressive, Madeline.
That is, I was just about to say that's impressive, so thank you for taking my word from me. But yeah. But as someone, I've only seen Northmor on a screen.
Through my highlights,
yes.
right? Yes.
But what makes them so special this year as someone who has not seen them live?
They were special last year as well. They were a little bit younger. Now, mind you, tonight, Jack Swinger, player we all know, he was the top play in week 1, had an appendectomy. He's out for a couple more weeks, but they still looked really impressive without him. He's one of those key players, offensively as wide receiver, defensively as a defensive back, but they just filled in, and they just continued to dominate. A.J. Bauer looking as good as he's ever done. Big play, Bo Landon had a leaping catch. Watch the game back. He had a great catch in the first quarter that helped set up the second touchdown. You have Goldbach, you have Becker, you have Carson Campbell in the backfield running for them. Their offensive line is great. They were worried about linebacking this year as they lost a couple, but they are just as good. But I want to focus on one player, my fee nominee, Madeline, and that is Cohen Becker of the Northmor Golden Knights. 69 yards rushing. I said he had 2 touchdowns, right? 58 receiving yards. That was that bubble screen touchdown that you see right here. And then he had the 79-yard kickoff return that ended up being a touchdown. 4 total touchdowns. You had Sloan with 3. I'm sorry, I got to top you with 4, and he did it multiple ways. And that's what makes Northmor so good, especially Cohen Becker here, is they have players that can do it on multiple ends of the field, like Jack Swinger when he comes back. Defensively, he can give you a pick 6. Offensively, a big touchdown. Bo Landon right there. You know, Carson Campbell, Cam Goldbach, linebackers that can get you a big sack, but then on the other end, he can also run the ball for a touchdown. So there is my fee nominee for this Monday's nominees, Cohen, Becker, and 2 very impressive performances by our nominees. Also 2 very impressive performances, Mr. Skoronsky, as the Golden Knights, the only team in the KMAC that's 3-0, and I believe Hillsdale, one of 2 teams left 3-0 in the WCAL.
some good competition out there, but also I think, Travis, there could be some potential, even though the Northmor Golden Knights are the only ones in the KMAC that are 3-0 right now, but for a few teams to give them some competition when
Coming
they
up this
start
week.
getting into the league battles.
Yeah, they go to Centerburg, who recovered from a slow start against Worthington Christian and ran them off. Northmor has to go there, and then the big one, week 5, if Northmor can get by them, it's Danville. That's the big game because Danville's been impressive. They go to Hopewell Loudon and lose 12-8, but Hopewell Loudon, we saw them against Cary. Like, that's very good competition, and the way that Danville's played the first 3 weeks, you know, we'll be at Danville next week. I'll see them with my own eyes against Loudonville. They're going to be favored heavily. You know, the sports books already have them as multiple double-digit point favorites, but it can't overlook them. I think if Northmor can get by Centerburg, that's probably, once again, one of those big factors, especially with Leicester hurt for East Knox, that it could be the top 2 teams now in the KMAC, maybe a de facto KMAC championship early in the year, kind of like the soccer side where we saw Clear Fork girls knock off Ontario and then Ontario knock off the Clear Fork boys. So it might be the middle of the season, but it could determine the championship if both teams don't stumble next week.
And I got a name for you here, Travis, that you didn't mention, and everybody loves a good underdog story. How about the Mount Gilead Indians?
I've seen them. They're good. They're good.
All right, we're going to take you out to the reservation here in a moment as we bring in Jonathan Langdon, who was out there tonight. Grove City Christian in town as well. And Coach Reed's bunch, they got off to a nice start, a week 1 win. Took a step back and a loss in week 2 against Upper Sandusky. So how did they perform tonight back at home?
They played really well. So Mount Gilead now sits 2-1. You always like to see that non-conference play for a team that went 3-7 last year. Let's go ahead and roll the clips. They played Grove City Christian on Military Appreciation Night. Veterans got in free, also active duty as well. So you're going to see these highlights here. 54-yard touchdown pass by Cole Fricky, someone that they're still trying to get comfortable throwing the football. I'll tell you what, he looked pretty comfortable right there. So 54 yards to his backup quarterback, playing tight end, Wyatt Long. He scores to get things started for this Mount Gilead offense. That was the very first drive of the game. Now, first quarter was a little slow. This may have decided the game very early in the first quarter. You don't say that very much in the first quarter, but that right there was a missed pass interference call that probably would have tied it up if that was called and they got the ball there close to the end zone. But we move all the way to the second quarter. It stayed 8-0 for a while, but we see Carson Barnum, the backup running back, sneak in there for his first of 2 touchdowns in this one. So you see the flashing lights right there. We love those at Mount Gilead. The new upgrades they got there at their field will be there a lot this season. And jumping all the way to the third quarter, we have a bad snap. You saw this earlier, the call of the night. Good job by Sayers to tip it out to Tyler Haar, who took it the rest of the way. Call it a scoop and score. Little guy, 5'5", getting all the way there. And again with the lights, just messing up our cameras here, but love to see it. Mount Gilead up with a big lead here, 24-0 until this score made it 24-6. Big time touchdown there to get the All-State running back, Caden Carroll, going. Interesting decision here, though. Down 3 scores, Coach Shaw takes an extra point, and it stayed a 3-score game, 24-7. It seems like they threw the white flag early, and Mount Gilead, this is their last score of the game. They cruised to victory. The final score, 32-13.
So Fricky having a good night and then getting Fricky with the lights. I love it. And it just seems like there's a good buzz going on right now down on the reservation. Describe the environment and just your overall thoughts about the Indians with the bounce back performance.
Well, we had a lot of fans watching online tonight, obviously with all the weather. So a lot of great support for Mount Gilead. Just the Military Appreciation Night added a lot to that as well. A lot of people in the stands got in free. Mount Gilead, just this team, they're really learning how to obviously run the ball. That's something they've loved to do even last year, even when they struggled going 3-7. But I think the next step here is if they can get Fricky to start throwing the football and throwing it comfortably. In the first half, he was 2 for 3, probably should have been 3 for 3. It was a drop on the receiver. Second half, he went 0 for 4, though. That's something that kind of took a slide. But Fricky, last week, threw the ball pretty well against Upper Sandusky. Of course, they lost that one, collapsed at the end. But this Mount Gilead team on both sides of the ball really doing a good job on the offensive end.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm not actually sure where you're going with this, but you told me you had a potential phenomenon coming from the defensive side of things tonight. Jonathan, who stood out?
Yeah, so Bo Sayers, a sophomore for this team. One of his brothers that just graduated was a stud on the defensive end, maybe a turning of the guard. Look at this hit, and there were a lot of flags in this game. This was not called a flag. Big time sack in the backfield. And then you also see him strip this out for a fumble, and that would really turn the shift. And that fumble basically ended the game right there. And then you're going to see another tackle made by him. I couldn't find his second sack. We're still working on that. But 2 sacks, forced fumble, a lot of tackles as well. Going to have to talk to a couple stat guys, see how many tackles he got. But Bo Sayers, fantastic job on the defensive end.
Yeah, well, one for the defensive guys. I think they love that being put up for awards and certainly earned when you're getting those TFLs like he just did and earning a nice big win there for the Indians. So Northmor's undefeated. We feel like they're probably the cream of the crop in the conference. Danville, they're right there too. Tough loss tonight, but other than that, really strong team. East Knox without their quarterback. Does this feel to you, and it's still early, these teams haven't played each other, we don't really know yet, that this might be the number 3 team in the KMAC?
It very well could be, but we're going to find out next week when they play Danville. And they're going to go to Danville, and we're going to see how they end up turning out. And I think the big game, yeah, Danville is going to be huge. It's just going to be a feel of kind of where they are.
Yeah.
When they play Centerburg, that's going to be, I think, what decides that number 3 spot. I think those two are going to be fighting for it. Mount Gilead, they're away for the next 3 games, but their next home game will be that Centerburg game that I think will decide their position, as long as they take care of business in all of those other games.
My guy. I love that you brought up Centerburg a couple of times. You know what they call that? A segue, Jonathan,
Oh, yeah.
because we were down there tonight as well. And by we, I mean Mr. Bryce Coder, who is joining us on the call-in hotline right now. They had Worthington Christian coming over to their place, a team that Danville took care of early on in the season. But obviously, this is a great program. They've got a good pedigree, Bryce. Tell me about how this one all went down tonight over there in Trojan Land.
The start, puddles on the field, and we were talking about it beforehand, who is it going to affect more, and we concluded Worthington Christian. They're such a pass-forward team. Their previous coach playing for Penn State and in the NFL as a wide receiver, and their current coach, an Otterbein legend, so they love to pass the football 50-50 with pass attempts and rushes, which you almost never see at the high school level this low. But they pass the ball really, really well, and coming out early on, we thought it was going to be issues with grip on the quarterback and the wide receiver, but they actually came out to a really hot start, able to rush the ball. Their first couple of drives, able to move things really effectively.
All right, go ahead. Let's see these moving pictures, Bryce. We're going to bring up the highlights. We'll talk through these babies right now.
All right, so Luke Hermes on a little tush-push action, 1-yard rush. That was actually the second time in a row they ran that, taking the odds that they would be able to get a yard on 2 plays from that. Thomas Hardings, though, able to find Cam Robinson into the end zone to give the Warriors a 14-0 lead, and he says, on your head. But the Trojans able to bounce back here, sending man in motion. Blaine Ball finds Trevin Harris all the way into the end zone. So really, up until the second quarter, we thought that Worthington Christian was going to run away with this one. And as soon as we got that Trojans touchdown, the place really erupted, and you can feel the momentum start to take place. After getting pinned inside the 10, Ball here, Blaine Ball, is able to run a 93-yard touchdown, break it all the way, pick up some big blocks, and we are equal at 14. And so just starting to see a different side of this Centerburg team. They were previously so successful on the pass, and they wanted to run the ball, but weren't able to find much success. Tonight, they were really able to find that success, over 300 rushing yards in the second half alone. But Thomas Hardings will put them up once again on a pass to Cam Robinson, who breaks away for his second touchdown. But from here, the Trojans definitely taking that one to heart as they look to pass towards the end zone, finding Trevin Harris for his second touchdown, unable to convert the PAT. We thought they were going to play a big factor there, this time handing it off to Miles Marshall, who picks up the touchdown. And from here on out, it was just all Trojans. See another look here. I think this one's from Marshall. Indeed it is, and just such great running here, able to find the holes and stay on his feet. I mean, breaking a couple of tackles, able to hold off a couple of tacklers there. Injury there as both tacklers ran into each other, and another touchdown for Centerburg. Getting another look here, and this time it's to Isaiah Sewell, who does a little dancing in the backfield and finds his way into the end zone. And after getting all the way down to the 1 yard line, the Trojans had another opportunity to score, but fumbled it on the 1. So Harding's taking over, the defense saying, "We would still like some points, please." And they close it out with the safety. So the Trojans end up picking up the victory 44-21 after 4 quarters of play. They're moving to 2-1, while Worthington Christian moving to 1-2.
Yeah, really hot start, of course, on the road for Worthington Christian, but how many times have you heard it, Bryce? It's not how you start, it's all about that finish. In Centerburg, in front of their home fans, and you saw a ton of them out there lined all around the perimeter of the surface. Amazing fourth quarter for them to put the game on ice and get a big-time victory. So playing in the clutch there at their home turf, you had to really be impressed with what you saw from Centerburg.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just coming back from the adversity, coming into the second half with all of that energy and momentum that they had secured, and even the adversity in the second half where they went down and weren't able to convert the PAT, trailing by 1, the defense really taking over there. Really impressed with Centerburg on both fronts, offensive and defensive. I was also impressed with the depth of Centerburg as well. When they started going lower and lower on that depth chart and giving guys opportunities, they really committed well on their opportunities and seized it.
And I saw Trevin Harris, a couple of big-time plays. They also have a decent running attack too, Bryce. So this is a balanced team, would you say, offensively? That they can give you troubles. They're very multiple, and you can't necessarily just key on one aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw going into it that maybe the rush was something that they had struggled with in the first couple of weeks, and they were using the pass. It seemed like they had 5 passing touchdowns and only 1 rushing touchdown going into it, but they were really able to spread it out, and I think that's going to be beneficial for them going into the later seasons because they're getting so many more looks on films that teams are going to have to consider going into this one.
This is going to be really exciting K-Mac race here. I think, yeah, unfortunately the injuries for East Knox might take them out of the conversation. Didn't look great tonight against Colonel Crawford, a team that, well, you saw last week over at the Dog Pound get a nice win. So you see Centerburg now. Bryce, do you have any type of a feel outside of Northmor about what we should expect when these K-Mac teams all start going head-to-head here beginning next week?
Oh, it's going to be exciting. I'm really excited to see it. I think it's going to be some pretty distinct clashes of style between some of these teams. Some teams very run forward. I think like the Danville style where they said, we're going to run the ball. You know we're going to run the ball and we're going to do it better than you can stop it. But you also have teams like Centerburg who can air it out on you, who can have the ability to run the football with their quarterback and just have so many options. I mean, 2 of the ball touchdowns were out of that read option because the defense simply didn't know what to do. They didn't know if a pass was coming, if a rush was coming from the halfback. So just so much unpredictability from Centerburg. I think Mount Gilead's also going to be a really tough challenge for a lot of teams in the K-Mac. Looking at some of the players on that team, I mean, growing up together, playing together, I feel like they have that chemistry. So a lot of competition all the way around.
Yeah, nice comeback tonight for Centerburg, Bryce. So I am definitely looking forward to it. It's going to be a very fun season to see unfold, I think, out here in the league. You had a pretty nice breakdown right there. So thanks for that, buddy. And
hope.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Some hope. I just want to mention for the Worthington Christian Warriors, a really young team. It's been an identified point of weakness that they don't have a lot of depth, and they start off hot and going in later into the games, they're just gassed. But so many young guys on this team, like Thomas Hardings, who's only a sophomore and already throwing the ball so well. His father played in college. He was a center for a guy you might know him named Ben Roethlisberger, and his uncle was actually his center in the NFL. So NFL and football experience all the way around him. Guys like Jacob Mercer and Gabe Long, both juniors. They're going to be really dominant next year. So I'm looking forward as well to see what Worthington Christian has ahead for him too.
Always spinning the positivity train in the right direction, Bryce. I appreciate it. A man who never saw a glass as half empty. Thanks so much for hanging out with us here late night on the Pigskin, bro.
Thank you. I'll catch you next time.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Bryce. All right, just when you feel like the energy might be starting to dissipate, guess what? We got a party coming up next. That's right, we got a Jardy party. After a quick commercial timeout, we'll be back with, I don't even know what we're about to get into here with Mr. Andy Jardy, but you always know that it's going to be a good time. Hey, oh, he's not even going to tell me. Oh, I love it. Yeah, just keep the Joey Bosa shrug going, and we'll see you on the other side of a quick commercial timeout.
You have better things to do than to job hunt or scramble to find your next great hire. So let Spherion do it. We say local is our superpower because we live and work where you live and work. We know the Mid-Ohio job market, and we're locally owned. So you won't find a partner who's more engaged and literally invested in your success. If you're ready for something better, start with Spherion. Visit us online at midohiojobs.net or call 419-747-7479.
More than Crown, we are the real people behind Crown CDJR of Dublin. Every member of our sales team is dedicated to providing you an excellent customer experience.
Find the right vehicle for you and your lifestyle is a Crown Crusher Jeep Dodge Ram today, the better way to buy.
Instead of paying for some big-name spokesperson, Kasasa Checking gives that money back to you in cash rewards. In fact, you just bought me this cup of coffee. See how that works? Amazing! Free checking, cash rewards. Take back banking with Kasasa.
Welcome to Richland County's first artificial intelligence ATM. If you car dance to this song you're listening to now, I will give you $50. See, that's something an ATM can never do.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Oh, we're serious.
Gosh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. We hope your day is a little bit better today.
Yes, thank you.
Time to get your party hats ready. That's right. If I had a kazoo, I'd be blowing on it right now. Pop the champagne and bring them in. That's right. It's time for a Jardy party. Andy Jardy from the shores of Lake Erie joining us here tonight. What's going on, pal?
If we're putting party hats on, I'd just like to put on my Guardians hat here with that impressive 3-1 win over the Dodgers just moments ago. Playing our best baseball here going into the postseason. You love to see it.
Hey, that's what it's all about, man. The Tribe's starting to get it rocking and rolling right now. That was a big one. I saw they were a huge underdog tonight, so wear that hat proudly, sir. and some other teams doing some winning and, well, also some losing around the area. Just got your notes. Fill us in on some notable things that are going down around the Buckeye State.
Yeah, so there were some notable things, as always, that happened around the Ohio area tonight for high school football. We'll start things off. Marion Locals head coach Tim Goodwin, kudos to you, sir, picked up win number 312, which ties him for 8th most in Ohio high school football history. That is impressive, too, because the high school schedule is not very long, and you have to make deep postseason runs for this to really happen. So kudos to Coach Goodwin there, tying 8th most wins in Ohio high school football history. On the flip side of history here, Mansfield Senior now, Brian. I'm sure you talked about this earlier. I just got home a few moments ago, but 0-3 now. For the first time in 20 years, they got shellacked tonight, 60-0 by Villa Angela St. Joseph, which they've played a tough schedule, don't get me wrong, but it's, you know, as they get in the conference play now, we'll see how they go the rest of the year. Hopefully this tough non-conference schedule, excuse me, gets them going here as they get into conference play. How about which of these 3-0 teams are you most surprised by here, Brian? Ashland, Galion, or Monroeville? And there's Travis. Hi, Travis.
You know, for me, I've been informed by Joshua Banks before the season that Galion was going to be really good. Ashland was my pick to win the OCC, so I'll probably eliminate those two and just say that Monroeville getting off to this great start probably didn't see it coming, but hey, sometimes fly, Eagles fly, and that's what they've been doing right to the top of the Firelands Conference. So a little bit of a shocker for me.
Yeah. I would agree with that as well. I didn't make a dark horse pick team this year or anything like that, but Galion is just a team I've kind of had my eyes on for whatever reason here to start the season, and they've been impressive at 3-0. And Ashland's kind of just quietly going about their business too and taking care of it as well. One of the things I saw going on here too, this was like the game of potentially the season up here in the Cleveland area. Battle of two defending state champs, which I believe now this is the 32nd time that's ever happened in OHSAA history. Kirtland beat Perry 22-21 in triple overtime. I saw some highlights of this on Twitter. It looked incredible. You know, a touchdown and 2-point conversion to win it there in triple overtime. What a game between two teams coming off state titles. That's just a really cool matchup for those two teams to have. And what a
those
finish.
are some heavyweights, baby. Anytime that you come in wearing the crown, and especially those two programs, Kirtland specifically, and then to have the Coconuts to go for 2 in the win, Andy, that's pretty big time by Coach Tiger right there.
Absolutely. So yeah, just a lot of buzz about that game, obviously. Up here in the Cleveland area too, and Kirtland, right? Kirtland was just down at Crestview last week. Is that correct?
Last Thursday, the game of the night for CBS. Yep.
Okay. So yeah, just a great matchup between those two teams. A lot of people saying, you know, craziest game they've ever been to. And then a shout out to my alma mater, the Northwood Rangers, get in the win column tonight with the win over Lakota, 30-17. Rangadanga, let's go.
Love it, man. I don't know what that means, but I like the saying. It just seems to work.
It's Ranger Danger. You just shorten it, Rangadanga. I don't know. No one ever really said it, but I did.
All right, so those are the notable performances, and I saw, my graphics gang, they got way too excited when they saw the Andy's Dandy, so we kind of jumped the gun on that. But there were some there were some big performances to go down. So bring the graphic back up, and let's jump inside of Andy's Dandies. Here we go.
Absolutely. So starting off the game I was at, Mount Gilead's Tyler Haar. You saw it in the highlight that Jonathan had for you. The scoop and score really put the game away for Mount Gilead. The sophomore, one of the smallest guys on the field at 5'8", 145, gets into the pile, comes away with it, gets the big touchdown for Mount Gilead as they are now 2-1 and looking to make some noise in the KMAC. Watch out because they've got the size up front to go up with just about anybody. We'll see if they can get some more consistent play offensively. And my God, no more penalties. Please, Mount Gilead, no more penalties. Speaking of the Mansfield Senior game, Villa Angela St. Joseph, Bo Jackson, who is an Ohio State commit, by the way, had 9 carries, 109 yards rushing, and 3 touchdowns. in their 60-0 win at Mansfield Senior. So get used to seeing him in some scarlet and gray in the not too distant future too. Should be a lot of fun to watch him wear the Ohio State uniform. Lima Seniors, Janaeus Hall, 6 total touchdowns in a win over Marion Harding tonight. And then Ontario's Mason Vandenberg had 4 total touchdowns in a win over Madison. So those are my Andes dandies for you here in week 3.
Good Lord, that's a lot of touchdowns. 10 between 2 guys combined, but how about a 6-pack for the dude from Lima Senior? My color commentator tonight, he's teaching over there this year. I asked about how the crop was this season, and he was like, pretty good. I'm doing my best Sean Adams impression here, and he didn't tell me, though, they got a dude that could go for 6 touchdowns. That's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you do that. That's impressive, and he found a way to do it, so big win for Lima Senior tonight.
That's my whole
Someone else
varsity
actually
career
scored a
touchdowns.
touchdown because they had 49 points. So I don't know who stole the 7th touchdown from him, but someone did.
Sometimes you just got to share the spotlight, though. Okay, I think Taysom Pater that many times, your belly's full. Okay, let's move on. Enough.
Absolutely.
All right, and how about us? Let's move on here now, Andy. And we did have one conference game actually go down tonight in the OCC. So let's begin there. We'll take a look at the standings. And the Ashland Arrows, a 3-0 team, as you mentioned, but they have not played anybody yet within the league. Travis, and you've got on the Arrows helmet. Who did play in the OCC tonight?
Well, Ryan, we had a victory. New Philadelphia played Worcester tonight and knocked them off. The final score of that one, as I pull up our scoreboard, wherever it is, 28-7 in favor of New Philly. The only conference game in North Central Ohio tonight. So the Quakers, despite having one overall loss, the only first-place team in the OCC. Ashland 3-0. They knocked off the Lindsley Cadets out of West Virginia, blanked them tonight, 28-0. 35-0 actually, but Ashland looking very impressive, but they're not on top just yet, Mr. Skronsky.
In this league, wow. Look at the bottom feeders. 3 of them. We anticipated this, I think, from Madison, but Mansfield Senior and Lexington?
Yeesh.
Not off the schneid yet. This is pretty shocking, Andy.
Yeah, this is crazy to look at. Yeah, the bottom. I mean, West Holmes now too at 1-2, and Worcester 1-2. It is New Philadelphia. I mean, what a nice transition they have made into this conference, and maybe it's all about the timing. But they've come in and have found themselves, I feel like, in a position to contend for it already after making the switch not too many seasons ago. So there they are sitting alone at the top, and I mean, I would think Ashland is the team to beat right now out of this. We'll see if all of the tough scheduling Mansfield Senior put together gets them going and ready for the OCC. But yeah, this has been a disastrous start for the conference. There's no question about it.
Yeah, I definitely don't think that you can count out the Tigers. Lexington, I got to see them with my own eyes tonight. I have a hard time seeing them going against some of those other bigger schools within the league, like a Mansfield or a New Philly, and walking away with a victory in Ashland as well. So that's going to be an interesting conference to keep an eye on, but I can't really forecast too many teams from there doing anything in the playoffs, Travis. It's still early. There's a lot to be learned about these teams. You can still figure some things out, but right now, 0-3 teams seems like a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of baffling because Lexington, we thought maybe they'd be one of those dark horse teams in there, and no, they're dropped 3 and a big head scratcher tonight against Clear Fork. Mansfield Senior, their schedule really tough, 3 tough teams. You know, Chokey Bradley, he'll play on the moon against anybody if he wanted to. And it's just 3 tough losses there, so you never know. Maybe they bounce back a little bit, but it's your boys at Ashland. As you can see, New Philadelphia, they lost a close one, 6 points to Steubenville, that team that's always a perennial power in the whole state of Ohio. So it may come down to the Arrows and New Philly. West Holmes, not impressive. Worcester, really down this year as well. So it might be a two-horse race already, 3 weeks in, and with only 1 conference game total played.
And I'm going to own them. I'm going to call them my Ashland Arrows all year. I could see this team potentially maybe even like 9 wins on the season. Who knows? They might run the table. But since we got K-Mac Trav here with us chiming in, Andy, how about let's take a look at the K-Mac and see that there's just one team with a goose egg still next to their name, and that is a Northmor Golden Knights. Well, or look at the bottom and look at Loudonville in the opposite column. And then there's a whole cluster of teams. We just talked about this. We kind of did a K-Mac segment in the last one. We saw Centerburg, and they got a nice big win. Now Gilead as well. So this is going to be a very interesting league over the next few weeks because we find out a lot. A couple of these good teams, if you will, they're going to play each other here in weeks 4 and 5, and we'll start seeing kind of that golden brick road or whatever, like forming towards the championship pretty immediately.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's Northmor's to lose at this stage of where we're at in the schedule with just how dominant their wins have been. We're going to find out a lot, too, here about Mount Gilead because their next 3 games, I believe, are on the road. So they will be tested here right out of the chute in conference play. I liked what I saw from them tonight, especially defensively. I liked what I saw from them. If they can find any sort of success through the air, it just adds a whole nother wrinkle to their offense because obviously they can get it done on the ground. They have multiple guys in the backfield that they can hand it off to. And Fricky did a great job faking us out, calling the game as to who actually had the ball when he would hand it off or keep it. So he connected on a throw for 54 yards to start the game off, and then he didn't really need to throw the ball the rest of the game. But if he can get some confidence throwing, it just adds another element to their offense, and I think Mount Gilead can make some noise here in the K-Mac. But like I said, we'll find out a lot about them here these next 3 weeks.
Don't count out Danville, though. Honestly, don't. I mean,
yeah.
You know me, Mr. Northmor, K-Mac, Trav, K-Mac at the Castle, everything like that. But Danville, 2 very impressive wins, and then they go to Hopewell Loudon and lose by, 4 points to them. I mean, they battle-tested first. Northmor, I mean, they're putting up 45 points a game, but look at who they're playing. I'm not dissing those 3 teams that they play, but, Upper Sandusky, they do have a win over Mount Gilead, but they've dropped a couple tough ones. South Central is just way down this year. They'll probably be fighting for a couple wins in the Firelands Conference. And then Mapleton tonight as well they was just overmatched just running the wing T because they couldn't throw the ball themselves. So I think, Danville showed that they are still at the top of the K-Mac. They are still the champs until somebody in conference beats them, and that's what makes that Week 5 matchup so important. Northmor wants that. It's at home. It's a team that's knocked them off the last couple of years and really hurt their chances at a conference championship. So that could be the game in the K-Mac in 2 weeks' time. And Northmor, they play Centerburg next week and then Danville, and then they got Mount Gilead after that. So they get the tops in the K-Mac right now, and that's going to show you how good Northmor is. And if they can win those 4, they're probably going to clinch the K-Mac outright. But then you got to talk about, are they one of those favorites in a region as well as another 3-0 team that we have in Colonel Crawford?
Well, I'm glad.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
Go ahead. No, I got nothing to add here. This is your party, Jardy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, too, it'll be interesting if next week is in any way a trap week for Danville or Northmor as they get prepared for that matchup in Week 5. Mount Gilead will travel to Danville next week, so can't overlook the Indians and what they've done. We'll see how Danville and Northmor respond to potentially looking ahead, but I don't think either team will, but that is something to maybe keep an eye on next week.
All right, let's jump into the Northern 10 now, and we'll show you that the Eagles, they certainly look like the cream of the crop, but I feel like this is the exact same conversation that we were just having with the K-Mac, where don't count out those Blue Devils, because until you knock off the beasts, you're still just looking up at the top of the mountain, and that is the Cary Blue Devils, even though right now in danger of starting 0-3, and Zach Truax, he presented the question, and I'd love to know the answer. When was the last time this program has been 0-3? It's probably been a few generations ago. They've been so dominant, so good, but that's what the Eagles have been so far through 3 weeks. Clearly the favorite right now to win this championship.
Yeah, it's, until someone does it, you can't count them out, but Colonel Crawford has just looked so good to start the year right now too. We'll see if Carey can get it figured out. But yeah, you look around the rest of the league. Good to see some teams get some wins here tonight. Winford getting a nice win over Western Reserve to get into the win column there. So I think it's Colonel Crawford's to lose, but yeah, we'll see if Carey gets things figured out.
Yeah, an unexpected win for the Royals and Seneca East. Disappointing me. I seen them on opening night. I was singing their praises from the mountaintops. I thought that they were really going to be a contender. All they've done is drop 2 in a row, and I hope that the Tigers can get this thing turned around because they had some talent. I like the pieces to the puzzle out there. They're just not fitting right now. And Colonel Crawford, Mohawk, they're going to be playing next week. So we're going to find out about those two teams right away, a la like we're seeing with Northmor, where they're going to get tested out of the gates with some of the top dogs and the contenders within that league right there in the Northern 10. So as things start shaking out, even before week 5 and 6, we're probably going to have a little bit better idea of what's going on in those leagues. The Firelands Conference, the 1-3-0 team that you asked me, was I impressed or surprised? Yeah, the Eagles fly into the top of the league. Western Reserve, they get their first defeat tonight. No one really saw that coming, I don't think, outside of probably the dudes inside of Winford's locker room. Outside of that, boys, this is a pretty rough league, I think, this year. Mapleton's got some talent. I feel like Crestview does too. But maybe not as good as a couple of these other teams that are up floating near the top.
It's Mapleton. I mean, it's Monroeville's to lose. And you were talking about, Andy asked you the question about the one of the 3 that surprised you. It should be Monroeville. Started out Lakota, who's 1-2. They beat them 45-13. Then they went to Calvert, to Frost Cowell Stadium, and beat them 23-9. And then they went and beat Seneca East 36-13. So that Seneca East 1-2 start, Seneca East has played good opponents. And it might show that Monroeville is the real deal this year, and this might be their year that they finally get that conference championship, especially with the St. Paul squad that plays tomorrow. You'll see it live and free on the OH Report against Calvert, where their top 2 running backs got hurt in week 1. Don't know if they'll be back. And then their starting quarterback last week in the second quarter got hurt and had a crutch. Didn't even come back out for the second half. So this may be the year for one of these other squads other than Crestview or St. Paul to jump on that Firelands Conference Championship.
Well, and while the Eagles are on top, though, Andy and Travis says they are clearly the team to beat. How can you not feel like Crestview and or St. Paul is going to get back involved here in the conference race by the end of this thing? That's where they've been, and I can't picture them not being right there when weeks 9 and 10 arrive.
Yeah, I'll have more of an opinion about that actually now later today when I do the St. Paul game because, yeah, I have not seen them in person. I caught a little bit of the game that we had that, Travis, you did. Was that week 1, week 2?
Last week.
And they really struggled. Last week? Okay. Yeah, they really struggled. It's been a rough go for the Firelands Conference. We've really seen that from a couple conferences in our area. It just has not – I feel like we're seeing a lot more teams struggle this year as opposed to previous seasons. And maybe it's just all cyclical, and some of these teams that have struggled are starting to move up while the others come down. But yeah, it's been a rough go for the Firelands Conference.
And that is why we have saved the best for last, unquestionably, the MOAC, where we've got 3 powerhouse teams right now. And I truly feel like the middle of the pack, too, very competitive. So the Warriors, the defending league champs, along with Shelby, and then the Galion Tigers. They've really impressed so far. 3 wins over Northern 10 teams. And then the Vikings and the Spartans and the Presidents. All pretty good, oh my. And Clear Fork, too, I like what I saw from them. They were without some of their key pieces early on in the season against some big-time opponents. Looked great tonight against Lexington. So this is going to be just a very, very exciting race starting next week.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the only conference in our area where every team has at least 1 win? I could be wrong on that, but
I think you are right. Loudonville is the lone in the KMAC, a couple in the
I think every other conference. Okay, so yeah, this has been top to bottom the best league in the area, and those top 3, I cannot wait to see who comes away with it. I think we talked about this last week. It feels like it's going to be a sharing of the pie at the end of the season because I feel like they're going to round robin each other and just like all tie at the end. So yeah, this is going to be fun to watch. I'm excited to see it play out throughout the rest of the season.
Question for both of you guys: over under 1.5 losses in conference will win the conference.
Oh,
you go.
I'm gonna lean under, because I do think whoever does get 2 losses is gonna come up short. So I'm gonna take the under. Yeah, I'm going under.
I think. Oh, geez, yeah, this is a tough one. I'm probably going to take the under as well, and I might have just talked myself out of maybe like a sharing of it.
I was going to say, if you said over, I think 2 or 3 teams could share with 2 losses. But right now, I don't know. Now, Bellevue might be a little bit down, but the way Shelby handled Bellevue, especially with the pass that they had against Bellevue, just for them to just roll over them, the question marks we had about Shelby, the few question marks, I think they've been answered. I think Shelby, once again, can be at the top, but then you have Ontario, who Van Tilburg's really showing out. Bogpen Miller's playing both ways now. And then those pesky little Galion Tigers, they're doing their thing as well. Then you're going to have, you're going to have somebody like a River Valley, Pleasant, or Harding just spoil somebody's, even multiple team seasons. That's why, like you said, you're saving the best for last. But I could see a couple teams, maybe 3 teams, even with 2 losses, share a conference championship out of this.
And I feel like the best games in the league are at the end of the year when you look at Shelby at Clear Fork on October 11th, Pleasant's at Galion that week, you get Harding at Ontario that week, and then you jump to week 9, and that is when Ontario goes over to Shelby this year. Pleasant's at Harding, Galion's at River Valley, and then week 10, Shelby at Pleasant probably is going to determine the league. And then
playoffs
Galion,
start in what, week 7? For these MOAC teams, if they want to play for conference championship as well, that makes these teams battle tested for the playoffs. Any of these teams, the top, I think 4 or 5, they get into the playoffs, they're already tested with what they played for. Look out, we might see a couple lower seeds in those regions get upsets just because of how they played in their conference.
Travis, going back to your over-under question, I'm leaning under because I don't think any of those top 3 teams lose to anyone other than
you don't think a spoiler
top.
comes
I think
in?
all 3 of those teams. Yeah, I don't think it's there. I just don't see it, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. We'll see. This is why it's the fastest 10 weeks, because you just get so excited for like each week to play out.
We're already a third of the way through the season.
It's wild. It's
right?
Crazy.
Yeah, there's going to be a crazy league to keep an eye on, and definitely looking forward to seeing how it all shakes out. But people are going to share a piece of this pie. I think Andy's right. Probably towards the end of the year, there's going to be a few teams that just have either 0 or 1 loss, and then it'll all kind of distribute its way out as they play each other. Well, Andy, you got a game coming up here tonight. Travis, gosh, you got volleyball here in just a few hours, so
yeah, I should be going down there right
throw
now.
A bow on this thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's end this baby. Shoot. I had a good time. Great. Yeah. Hey, bravo. My last words are going to go out to Clear Fork winning at home tonight. I know that Coach Balka and that group, they've been working really, really hard, and talking to, matter of fact, everybody that I spoke to, either in the press box or walking up into the field tonight, was like, this is going to be a tough one for Clear Fork. Boy, going to be doomed for 0-3 again, and they showed out. Really impressed with Clear Fork. Travis, your last word?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Andy. Nope, go for it, Andy.
I was just going to jump in.
This is your party again, Andy. Come on, you're the host.
That Lexington Clear Fork game is just always strange. It's always a weird game. I did 2 back-to-back a couple years ago. I was talking about this on the broadcast tonight. I know Effie and I did the one game, but I can't remember who won, but someone jumped out to like a 21-0 lead or a 28-0 lead and ended up losing. So when I saw that score tonight, I was like, you know what? That game just always surprises me. So hats off to Clear Fork, though, for getting the job done.
Me? Everything's as expected right now. I think we've seen some surprises, but I just love the fact that we're back, and actually not back now. It's week 3. KMAC, it's looking great. We got some good teams. It looks like looking like Northmor, Danville, the Northern 10, Cary, Crawford, and both last year's champions go to the second place team this year. So you never know. They're going to have to earn it the hard way if they want to repeat once again. But hey, I think one team out of some of these conferences might, with one or no wins through the first 3 weeks, will compete for a title in the last couple of weeks. That's my hot take right there. But also, tomorrow, 7 o'clock, Calvert at St. Paul. Well, yeah, tonight. What day is it? What time? I don't know anymore. But yeah, tonight, Calvert, St. Paul, Mr. Jardy, Josh Banks on the call up there.
Let's go.
No,
Brian?
you can't go yet. You got to wait 7 p.m. kickoff. I'd get a little bit of shut-eye, Andy. But it's always fun partying with you here late night on the Pigskin, man. So thanks for jumping on board. Week 3 in the books. Appreciate all the fans out there watching live and free here tonight. But we're going to close out the show. We'll see you right back here. Same bat time, bat channel, all that stuff for a Week 4 conference edition of the Pigskin. So long, you guys.